It's my It's death.
Jag har tråkigt. Jag har tråkigt.
It's my It's death.
Louder with Crowder is brought to you in part by .com. Head over to the shop, support the fight, and buy some cool threads. It's the Tits Pajamas. .com.
It's June, which marks Louder with Crowder's 6th annual Cultural Appropriation Month, where we take you across the globe to learn and appreciate all the diverse cultures this planet has to offer. Because to appropriate is to appreciate. Join us, comrades, for the final week as we journey through the streets littered with used starlets and human shit. Allow us to transport you to the communist cesspool that is California. I don't know if that's a little bit of the HIV.
Oh.
It's California. Happy Cultural Appropriation Month.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. I cannot see Gerald A here. Is first off, we don't have anyone in third chair today. I need to tell you, Dave had a funeral to go to.
Sucks.
Because someone had to be selfish.
Not his own.
And, well, that remains to be seen. There could be they could get a 2-for-1 special. But we'll be talking about California today. And Joe Biden just made some new gun mistakes. And by mistakes, I mean lies.
Of course.
And we'll also talk about why California is definitively the worst state in the union, not including, of course, the state of Baltimore. Yeah. But before we get to that, hey, Gerald A., how are you, sir?
Doing well, Stephen. Glad you brought me.
Mr. Dorsey.
I'm not aware of what you're talking about.
Right, yeah, no. You'll look into it. Quarter Black, how are you, sir?
Yo, you got $1?
Yeah, well.
I just need enough money to get a bus ticket.
Oh, yeah,
or
we have some
something,
stats, too, in California.
Okay,
Homelessness.
that's good.
The funny thing is, we don't have the stats of 2020 or 2021. We have the stats from
Oh, well, that's convenient.
18 to 2020.
Those are my stats.
And it's... Those are not your stats.
They're nobody's stats.
And I apologize, guys. Look, Jordan Peterson had another appointment.
Yeah,
we are going to have him back on soon. And of course, this is my last show for a little while, live, because they're going to cut open Bruce's chest. Hey, great job on the wardrobe and the costumes, by the way. Just so you know, this is.
I don't want to see
This is just the
See
short.
my thighs?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to criticize my biceps. Get the thighs in there.
Get it in.
It's always fun when you're wearing a liner, these swim trunks, and underwear.
Yeah.
No, that's
too many
not.
layers.
One wrong move, and this seam is a high-tension cable wire.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Testicular torsion.
So before we move on here, it's time for some California facts.
Whoa, dude.
A lot of people don't know this. Berkeley was the first city in the country to begin a widespread AIDS education campaign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
A new California state mandate states that all gender reveal parties are BYOE, bring your own extinguisher. Yeah.
It's
also,
needed. That's necessary.
I'm getting word they just banned all gender reveal parties.
Yes.
So that's also changed. And a statue of O.J. Simpson still stands. This is true. In Brentwood today.
We're not tearing down
a
that
statue of
Come
O.J.
on.
Simpson. Kind of disrespectful, of course, if you ask me. But he was a fantastic murderer.
That's what I
So
yeah.
it does make sense.
Yeah.
They're just honoring. What's that? What am I hearing?
What
You
is
got some music? Is that? Oh no.
Oh, what?
What is happening?
It's I don't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't feel comfortable with this.
Tick tock on the clock.
All right, that's enough. That's very good. Okay,
all right.
Hands up.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. Let's get. Okay,
Okay,
You know what?
enough. Yeah, sit.
You know what? No, listen,
No,
Dad,
just-
stop.
just
Tick tock,
a little-
fellas.
Okay.
Tick tock, fellas. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. How are you?
Don't play the music again.
No. Oh my God.
Get him out of here.
Bryce, leave.
Get out.
Just we hate all of you.
Bryce, get out. Get the hell out. This is so. This is Pops Crowder.
Crawdaddy. We did a Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, and honestly, I feel a lot of shame. Just
Not more
you
than
shouldn't feel shame. It's that Dave was supposed to do this,
Yeah.
and then looking at my father like this.
That's hard. That's hard.
I don't know what you're talking about, Stephen. How are you? Nice to see
All
you,
right,
fellas.
okay.
Nice
We don't have
see
to
you,
Daniel
fellas.
Day-Lewis this thing the whole day. Does someone want to get him a
dedication,
makeup
though.
wipe?
The dedication. I appreciate it.
You're not even going to, your shoulder's going to get, so you can't hold that mask up the whole time?
Who goes from the low maintenance life of a dude to this
I know,
every day?
Yeah, I know, every day.
It's called delusion.
Yeah. Somebody with time on their hands.
This just honestly threw me. I didn't expect that, and I don't like it.
I'm not enjoying it.
But this is Bruce Jenner, who won the
Right.
awards, and then Caitlyn Jenner, Woman of the Year.
Ah.
So
Awards
very
everywhere,
maybe
yeah.
he'll have a statue in Brentwood. Of course, it'll be honoring his hit and run.
It was a good job.
So
I mean, you got
terrible.
away with it.
By hiding out as
All
a
right.
woman.
Speaking of which, we have some questions of the day. By the way, would you ever make your dad do this? You can let me know. I'm sorry. Thank
Yes.
you. You can. By the way, you can
Comment below.
He's trying. Did you just take bugles and wrap them in tinfoil? Are those palladium coated bugles?
What?
I think they're lovely, Stephen.
Oh, no.
They're beautiful.
All right. Okay.
It's
If you
all
want to wipe
beautiful.
off the makeup, you can. By the way, notice the most disturbing thing: a straw, so he doesn't screw up his lipstick.
It's probably one of those.
I requested it, fellas.
Yeah.
I requested that.
It's probably one of those paper straws that just sticks to you.
I think Caitlyn needs a few more requests denied.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that in the United States? No.
Yeah. She didn't hear that word enough.
No, she did not hear that word.
Hey,
enough.
should I dress up as a woman and, do some weird? No.
No, let's
There was
not.
no one around that said
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a real great way to get my record expunged.
But I killed somebody, and this is my way to hide.
You know what? This has gone off the rails. So let me just say this. You generations in millennials, my generation, you don't appreciate what Bruce Jenner actually did.
Yeah.
The incredible magnitude of that feat. Pops Crowder, you were talking about this. It's not just that he won this decathlon before black guys figured out the sport. It was it's absolutely true. You see these people sprinting, and it's like a bunch of white guys. You're like, oh, well, that was just a matter of time. But it was the Russians were
better.
doping, and they were professional. And this guy, Bruce Jenner, for all this crap that's gone on now, was paying his way through college, competing against professional dopers, and beat them. Right?
Well, before the turn of the century.
Stop it, please.
That's exactly right. He was working his way through school, doing it as an amateur athlete against the best on the planet that were just human experiments.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
The whole Eastern Bloc, just human experiments.
Yeah, let's move Caitlyn's mic a little closer
I can
because
do that. How's that?
because it's giving me a little bit of echo. All right,
Okay.
before we move
Is that
on
better?
to anything
that's
else,
perfect.
Let's react to this while we're talking about California. Here's a guy on the TikTok. By the way, I've been banned from TikTok.
Yeah.
What?
Removed just this morning.
Why?
Here's a new one.
Oh, is there a new one?
Instagram.
Instagram, and
the
then
new
we got the new
TikTok
TikTok. I don't really give a shit. I don't.
Well, you should.
I don't. I'm at that point. Look,
irritating.
throttled on Facebook, demonetized on YouTube, throttled on YouTube, and then a TikTok. I wouldn't even say that that's a cherry on top because no one cares.
No, but I mean the debauchery that's allowed on TikTok, and it's like
You
getting.
got to stay there to piss them off. That's
I know,
what you
but the
gotta
good
do.
thing is I don't have to listen to any more nurses. I mean, heroes. Talk
Heroes.
about
That's true.
their daily tasks. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a job? So
Oh no.
it's called being an adult, nurses and teachers unions, and sometimes that means you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, like go to work.
Interesting concept.
Yeah. So here's a guy on TikTok saying, this is the new rule now, that straight men can
What?
just okay. This is, I swear to you,
watch.
this is, and yours truly removed. Here you go.
Do you know that straight men can have sex with men and not be gay? They can.
Huh?
My first few
Incorrect.
videos were about straight men having
Okay,
gay
discount
sex.
Ben Affleck.
And I'm getting activity again in comments that people don't understand that straight men can be attracted to the sex act, but not to the man. Straight men having sex with men doesn't cancel somebody's heterosexuality any more than a straight woman having sex with a woman cancels her sexuality. And it's not about bi erasure either. Please don't say that. Bisexual men are attracted to both men and women to different degrees. Straight men are not attracted to men. They're attracted to the sex with men.
Oh,
Could some of these men be gay or bisexual? Absolutely. But that comes over time, and that's a trajectory that only they can be in touch with to figure that out, not the therapist and not anyone else. So before you
Not the
leave
therapist.
comments, please watch my earlier videos.
So hold on a second. They're not attracted to men. They're attracted to sex with men, and straight men can have sex with. He's gay, right? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I figured it out.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well, you know, on
That's the
TikTok, it's still not
result.
the gayest thing I've seen in the gym.
I'm just.
Wow.
He could have used the smaller 25 plates, but he wanted the big round.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
that was Tokunawan. And by the way, you are less gay today than what you did in that gym.
I mean,
Wow.
Curling
That's
squat rack.
unbelievable.
I love this. They're not gay. They're not attracted to the gay men. They're attracted to the sex with men. It's like, oh, I didn't look. I wasn't doing it. Wasn't doing it for the rape. It was I just enjoyed the sex part of it.
Oh, so you can separate.
So I'm not a
those.
rapist.
Right, yeah. Those sounds like the Greek thing. Well, like, it's only if you're the person receiving that you're gay.
Right.
If you're giving, you're totally, like, heterosexual.
So there's no emotional connection?
It's prison rules. Watch. Stephen Crowder admits to raping. Look, Joe Lewis doesn't even like being in California.
He's out.
Not at all. I'm surprised he's going for
Looks
that.
comfy though.
In other news, not California, sorry, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is going to the border now. Did you guys see this? Yeah, he's finally going to the border. Politico reported.
Oh, wow.
Tomorrow. So it took 6 months of being in office, 3 months of being officially put in charge of the border crisis.
Interesting.
And I don't know. This just seems, of course, politically motivated. When people, this is always funny to me when the left says, stop politicizing issues, you're politicizing science. You didn't want to go to the border just because it was bad and you knew that it would look bad for you if you continued to do anything because Donald Trump did.
Right. Well, she's like a petulant child. I don't want to go because you've told me that I need to go.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be visiting, is what the Homeland HIS next Wednesday?
Yeah. He's visiting as well.
Oh, there you go. You have it in the over. Yeah. So that might have something to do with it. And Greg Abbott, he's in a wheelchair.
He is. He's going to be there too. He found a way.
Rolled his ass down there.
Jeez.
Don't forget, a guy in a wheelchair helped stare down the Nazis.
This is
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Truman dropped the bomb.
Yeah, but well.
Or as I call it, world's greatest gift. So, no, by the way, I absolutely think we should have dropped the bomb.
Oh, yeah. Drop it twice.
And
we did.
Go ahead, change my mind. That's something a lot of people are like, do you have any idea the amount of... I thought everyone here was like, oh, that's a little intense. No, we had the weapon. We should have used it because we saved a bunch of lives in a land war.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tokunawan, but you didn't like the Japanese
That's
either.
true. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no, the Okinawans did not like them. No,
Yeah.
They destroyed our temples like twice.
Yeah.
Because you rebuilt them, you jerks. You didn't get the message the first time.
And one time I had a Japanese man destroy my Shirley temple. He was a horrible architect.
Oh, man. The atrocities continue.
I said a dirty Shirley and make it a double. A bird flies on two wings, don't it, Hiroshi? So, Lados Crowder actually has obtained compelling exclusive footage from the border, which also may serve as the reason Kamala Harris is going there. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope he finds them.
I hope he finds what he's looking for. Mainly maracas.
Just maracas. Yeah.
By the way, that term that I just used, a bird fly on two wings, don't it? That came from an old neighbor of my my wife at the time, who was my girlfriend.
Really?
And I think we should revoke all old people's driver's licenses.
Well, that's true.
Because they're
Why does
always
that-
drunk.
That's ages, man.
They're always drunk. I went over to his place. He invited me over for his like happy hour, which is, you know, like a bunch of whitefish pate and shrimp that's been sitting out for a long time.
Too long,
I don't know
yeah.
what age you cross over where temperature doesn't affect the taste of meat to you.
Right. It was
But-
also 10 a.m. So.
Yeah, no, it was 11 a.m. This is not a joke. And he goes, what do you want to drink? And I don't really drink a lot of cocktails and hard liquor. At this point, I didn't drink really at all. And I said, I don't know. What do you? He goes, I'm going to make you a dirty Shirley. I said, okay, that sounds entirely inappropriate for 11 a.m. And he goes, you want me to make it a double? And I said, I don't know. A bird fly on two wings, don't it? And he poured like 6 ounces.
Settle down.
6 ounces of Gibby's gin.
Okay, gotta go. Bye.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. And then he drove.
Geez.
Then he drove to brunch.
I don't think that's so. It's not so much being old as being completely hammered.
Yeah, but it's just they do it.
They do.
Who's going to stop them?
Old people really do have like a just get as drunk as you possibly can because who cares?
More
Just
power to 'em,
steal
man.
as much as they want. And like I said, guys, we are going to have some videos, long form content, some Change My Minds coming up, and a mini documentary about the surge that I have coming up because it's supposed to. I'm supposed to not work for like several months, but that's not going to happen. I'll just be gone for a couple of weeks. It's pretty invasive, and I don't really want to go through it now. So if you want to know about what's going on in the Mayo Clinic, great work. That'll be up next week or the week after, and you know, hopefully I don't die.
Can we do? Is this like a Discovery Channel documentary where we actually see them crack your chest open?
I think they might allow us to actually go into the surgery room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to blur that?
Hopefully not.
I have no idea.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't need to play by TikTok rules anymore.
I didn't think they had rules. I swear.
You make your own rules.
We'll go to the Gen Z thing afterwards, but let me ask you this. John McAfee, before we move on, this is a story, and I didn't want to report on it because we don't have a lot of info. It's either something nefarious or the world's greatest troll.
Yes.
But the media hasn't really talked about John McAfee dying. For people who don't know, let me just give you a really brief recap, okay? He created the antivirus software that you no doubt have on your computer and cannot uninstall.
It is a virus.
And he committed, tax evasion. They said he went down to Belize, was accused of maybe murder. Then he went to Guatemala, back to the States. Anyways, he was arrested based on tax evasion, put in a Spanish prison about a year ago, and then finally was cleared for being extradited to the United States. Died, suicide in his prison cell yesterday. Here's the thing. He said many times that he would not commit suicide. He even had it tattooed. He had the word whacked tattooed. He said,
exactly.
If I die in custody, schwacked. Sorry, that's right. He didn't have. He was a Daniel Stern fan. He couldn't put in bushwhack, so it's just a tat. It doesn't really serve its purpose. But he said, "I will not kill myself." Okay, look for me. So either he was doing this the whole time, or there could be something going on. This is a guy who has a lot of info on anyone because his antivirus software is in computers. And he was obsessed with privacy. The guy was, I don't know how much about him is true if you watch that documentary. The person who made it made a very pro-Clinton documentary. So it's really hard. The reason I'm not talking about it is because it's really hard to sort of piece together what's true and what's not. And I need a little more time with it. But I do want to ask you this. Doesn't it, at what point do we say there's a pattern? Like, that's honestly all I was trying to think about. Are there any, can you think of any Bernie bros who got offed in this kind of way?
No, I was trying to think through that. I was like, man.
Seth Rich-ish, but it's sort of negated by the Clinton.
That's the Clinton.
The DNC stuff. Thing, But I'm saying it just always seems like people who are libertarians, who are anti-government types, or people who have dirt on powerful people, they always just seem, how many failing brakes can happen? Are they all driving Priuses?
Or the Jeep that back up.
And suicide in the cell. I just,
while on suicide watch with cameras and guards, except, he
was digging into Epstein. Obviously, he had it. So I don't know. You guys, and you know what? This is sort of crowdsourcing. If there's something I've missed, let me know. I don't know. The guy seems nutty.
Kind of a funny aside, though, the whole nutty thing. I know somebody who works at McAfee, and this person said to me, well, we're really sad, obviously, but he hasn't been a part of the company for like 20 or 25 years, and now we can finally stop having to answer the question about him.
Yeah.
Every time he does something stupid, people are like, hey, but what about like this? So they have to go to all their customers and say, remember, he's not associated with us anymore. We just have his name.
He made Belize look real good, though.
Yeah.
As a place to retire to.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, you highlighted that part of the world.
If your neighbor gets mad about your dogs barking, you just off them.
That's no, you can't.
Let's call it a day. Go use some bath salts. So again, I don't know. None of this seems to add up. But who knows? Here's something that we do know. Okay, I talked about Joe Biden and the WhiteHouse.gov. We provided the sources. We always do. Louderwithcrowder.com. Yeah. His proposal for effectively the gun registration, the gun ban.
Yeah.
But he just spoke yesterday again on his intent to sort of curb gun violence, specifically in these major cities. Of course, this tantamounts to more gun control, to more federalized authority. But you knew that. So I don't want to get into the registration, the buyback, because we have already done that. You can just search that on louderwithcrowder.com. Don't try and search it on YouTube because you will find nothing.
Surprise.
But he just made a claim yesterday that the left has been making for a very long time.
Okay.
And it's verifiably incorrect about this is the common blame game, right? Well, if you look in these big cities, they're actually getting guns from elsewhere. It's not the big city's fault. But he made a very specific claim because he said the quiet part out loud. They probably said, don't say...
And he just remembered.
Don't say that people are pointing out that gun crime is a problem in major liberal cities because that's a deadlock. So don't say that. And then he said that. Here you go.
We discussed disrupting illegal gun trafficking. Now, the gun lobby wants you to believe that cities that are had the toughest gun laws still have the highest rates of gun violence.
Correct.
As was pointed out by the group we had today in our roundtable. The violence is, so they argue, why do you need those gun laws if they don't work in cities that have tough laws? Don't believe it. Here's the truth. Today's conversation with Mayor Scott of Baltimore, for example, echoed what we know to be the case and hear from mayors all across the country. Mayors have the power to help shape and enforce the laws in their cities, but they can't control the laws in neighboring cities and states, even though the gun legally bought there often ends up in their streets. Mayor Scott says that 80% of the guns in Baltimore were acquired outside the city. Outside the city.
Is that a fact, Mayor?
There's little he can do about that.
By the way,
So we have to act.
I love how he says a lot of people say, you know, and they use these verifiable stats and statistics, but the mayor told me no.
So I went with it.
It's not our fault.
Piece
man.
of shit. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of this guy. I'm so tired of someone like there is no
It's only
standard
been
to the
6
left.
months.
If that were Donald Trump, and we're going to get to California,
Yeah.
we don't need to dump that. That's okay. I believe that the former vice president is a piece of shit. Okay, this is a lie. He just takes stats, right, facts, and then says the mayor said no. If it were Donald Trump, they would say, "Where are you getting that, sir? Where are you
Yeah.
getting that?"
Yeah.
They
Please
would
give us
never.
a source.
They did the same thing. We'll get to it in a little bit in California with wildfires and not clearing the brush.
Oh, of course.
He was right. We now know it's right. How? Because we have receipts for $500 million that say he was right. But this is a claim that Joe Biden, and by the way, I haven't slept in 2 days.
Oh, man.
And I can tell a man who is completely lost. He's lost the plot.
Well, he doesn't have anybody around him that says, hey, you need to look into this claim before you repeat it.
No, I mean, he doesn't have anyone around him saying you need to crawl into a hole.
And take a
should
nap.
not be in
Animals
public.
go off to die alone.
What are we doing?
But this is just a recycled claim that you heard from Barack Obama. He tried to make this claim because everyone pointed to his hometown of Chicago, and this is it's actually not Chicago's fault. It's Indiana. It's here you go.
They go to a gun show in Indiana, where right now they don't have to do a background check.
Incorrect.
Untrue.
Load up a van and open up that van and sell them to kids and gangs in Chicago.
He thinks that people are buying firearms at a gun show the way he bought crack with Bill Ayers. For people who don't know, I know, just so you know, Barack Hussein Obama did crack with Bill Ayers, convicted domestic terrorist.
Oh, wow.
He wrote about it. It's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, that's in the book.
So he's saying Chicagoans go to these horrible crime-riddled areas where there are
Supposedly.
plenty of guns.
Yes.
And bring the guns back.
That's exactly.
There's no crime in these places where the guns.
No, there are
plentiful.
no crime, and there's very little crime in the places that he's referring to. As a matter of fact, I went to the specific location, which I can't do anymore now because I get recognized. There's no undercover.
Yeah. Can't move.
Don't have Jim Henson on the payroll, but he was specifically addressing a place, Crown Point, Indiana, where they have a big gun show.
Yeah.
I went to it specifically to see, just so you know, if I could purchase without a background check.
I give this to you.
No, this all gets sent to the ATF.
I can't do. I mean, to get that home today.
There's no way to do that.
Well, I was told that I could go to a gun show and there would be no background check. So there would need to be a background check. That's a problem. I was told by the president that I could go here.
Believe him?
That's a felony and 20 years, and I'm not going to mess with it. No.
No.
You tried.
And you know what the truth is? I actually really wanted to get that magazine-fed shotgun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I couldn't. So really, the victim in all this is me.
Yeah.
How does he get away with saying something like that? Like, you can just go over the border in Indiana and buy guns without a background check, and nobody goes,
You can go, and here's what happens. People say, hey, and this happened afterward, hey, you want to get a gun without a background check? And it's a criminal who then tries to sell it to you in an alleyway. Like that can't happen in the bastion of safety that is Chicago.
That's the whole point, right? He's saying that there's this gun show loophole that we've talked about before. No, it's people committing a crime who don't follow the laws that you write now. So what do you think? Why do you think they're going to follow ones you write later?
There's no gun show loophole. There's no evidence that the problem in places like Chicago, Baltimore, that this is coming from states like Texas and Oklahoma, or neighboring states, Indiana. There's just no evidence.
Who's Detroit going to claim? Canada?
You know what? Detroit and Toledo, they kind of volley back and forth, and they just blame each other. But look, I'm a Michigander. That one's on us. Toledo. It's one exit away. It's like Detroit, Flint, and then Toledo. And you're like, how did Ohio make the list? You're like, well, come on, let's look at the proximity.
There's no discernible difference.
There's no discernible difference. Okay, so here's the question. Is it true? Of course it's not true, but let me give you some general stats and also something that a lot of people don't touch on, because a lot of these stats, just like when we talk about firearm deaths, we're not talking homicide deaths often. When you're talking about that total number, they're including suicides. And when you take that out, per capita gun homicides in this country, very, very low. And then when you understand that a huge portion of that is gang-on-gang violence, and again, you see a higher trend of that in cities, for example, like in Dallas, a lot of crime. Not a lot of crime against civilians, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, it doesn't make it right.
No, of course not.
But a part of me thinks, you know, let the Crips and the Bloods clear each other out.
But you need to understand where the stat comes from too, right? You have to understand that most of that is made up of gang violence, and those are the criminals that aren't following the laws that we just talked about.
So general stats. Chicago saw an increase in shootings of over 52% in 2020. Minneapolis saw a 105% increase in shootings in 2020. DC, 2020 increased, from 64% from 2017, because that was the last time I took those stats. Baltimore shootings were up 17% in 2020. And
seems kind of low for Baltimore. I'm like, did they stop counting these? They're like, no.
They're like, hey, cut it.
He tripped and fell, but he had a bullet wound, so let's blame the fall.
Comorbidities.
Kind of like
exactly,
kind of like Epstein and McAfee in a cell.
Yes, pretty much. No, that
30-06 to the back of the head. This rifle has an extension and a scope on it.
Well, he had some string. We saw, I guess. I don't know.
Must have Steven Spielberg alien arms. So, this doesn't tell the full story, because this is something too that I've always. It's very hard to find some numbers out there. Crime against civilians, carjackings actually are a great indicator. And you can read up on this. There are a lot of people who've talked about this, sort of people who study crime and have to make inferences. There really isn't a lot of data, hard data on, for example, a lot of ballistics data that we have is not very accurate. So it's hard to know how many shots are taken to stop an intruder, because sometimes the only data that's collected, these are municipally, and it just collects the deaths, you know, just the death numbers, not necessarily the numbers of people who were shot or who were fatally wounded and died later. Same thing with carjackings. They're typically reported on a municipality by municipality basis. I don't believe there's a federal database, but it is important. Here's why. Carjackings, and by the way, Pops Crowder, you know about carjacking. Detroit invented the carjacking.
Sure.
Did they really?
Oh, yeah. That's why you leave a space between you and the car in front of you, so when they rear end you, you have an exit strategy.
Because they try to pin you.
Yeah, they actually coach you how to get out. You stop at no lights in certain areas. No, you roll them. You treat them as stop signs or yields. And you leave a gap between you and the car in front of you.
I remember that episode.
Was this like the DMV training where they like, we just know everything's gone
It's
to
on
hell.
the test.
That's how that's how Pops Crowder trained me when I was driving.
So
he's like, just so you don't get pinned. I'm like, Dad, we're in Montreal. And I'm pretty sure no one wants to steal my 94 Cavalier.
Right. So when
they
I
know
was
you're
growing up,
English, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they taught us how to parallel park. For you, they're like, screw that. You're not going to need that. You're going to need to know how to get out of a carjack.
Carry this gun.
You pull up to the wrong area in Detroit and you stop at the stoplight before it goes green. It's just a frame on cinder blocks.
They are efficient.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. So this is important because the carjackings are a perfect example. Look, no one is carjacking another gang member. Carjackings are a good indicator of how emboldened criminals are to simply commit a crime against an unarmed civilian if it's in an area where guns are controlled. Because think about it, most carjackings, where they occur, they don't occur on country roads. They often occur in populated areas where there should be a police presence against a civilian. And so there are several assumptions that have to be made for a criminal to commit carjacking successfully. The person is unarmed, the police are ineffective, and no one will do anything, and it has to be in a crowded area. Okay. Chicago carjackings increased 135%.
Dang.
In a year.
Could say that's significant.
That sounds high. Until Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, carjackings more than tripled.
Hold my beer, Chicago.
Washington, D.C. quadrupled in 2021 compared to 2020.
Quadrupled?
Quadrupled. Carjackings in Washington, D.C. We have the sources all available at loudwithcrowder.com. 135% increase seems pretty bad.
Yeah, it does. Until you see quadrupled.
Right.
Yeah, that is rough.
Now, are you seeing tripling and quadrupling in areas where people have open and concealed carry? No. Not those numbers. There may be some. There may be some exceptions. But the only real city that I know of that's a large city that's still run by a Republican mayor is I believe, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I believe that's the last one. And you'd have to be an idiot to carjack somebody there. The guy won't even roll down his window, and you'll just be spouting water out your stomach like Gremlins 2.
Jeez, terrible.
Fire right through the door.
I was about to say, all these cities have like just this common thread. I mean, I wonder if we could do some kind of statistical analysis and draw conclusions from that.
Comparisons here.
So if Baltimore's crime is not from Baltimore or Chicago, where's it from? This is the question. Where is it from, and where is the data? Look, you can look at the data, and it's pretty self-evident that, okay, Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, we see a trend. And we'll get to California in a second. Not only violent crime, but homelessness and breaking and entering. It seems pretty obvious. And so for me, if you are going to say, hey, the obvious answer here, where there's a consistent pattern, is not the actual answer, well, then it is your duty to provide something that's compelling.
Yeah, evidence would be helpful here.
Does anyone out there, again, I know we have some leftists who watch the show, not leftists, but classical liberals. Anyone have any evidence that it's coming from somewhere else? So, Baltimore Sun.
How far is D.C. from Baltimore? Are they kind of?
It's not very far. It's about 45 minutes. I think an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's far enough.
Yeah, they're both awful.
No, not far enough. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they're not both far enough away from the United States.
Yes, that's a very true point.
Yeah. The Baltimore Sun article, actually, this is what they claim that the top two states, Maryland, they import guns from, are Virginia and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And this surprised me. So let's compare the states.
That's a weird.
Maryland, 4.5 violent crimes per 1,000 residents.
Okay.
Now, Pennsylvania, which I thought, because you still have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, 3.1 violent crimes per 1,000 residents.
That's lower.
You take away Philadelphia, it's like half that.
Jeez.
Virginia, 2.1 violent crimes per 1,000 residents. It's not even close.
Well, it's the white supremacists that are coming into town. They're the ones they're driving in from West Virginia.
Yeah.
That's what they do in all major
Nary
cities.
a black man to be found in Philly.
No, not at all. Well, the Justice Department told me white supremacists were the greatest threat to
they were the greatest threat, unless you're talking about a quadrupling in carjackings. You really think there are a bunch of American History X Ed Norton lookalikes carjacking people in Baltimore?
Probably not.
Keep it a low profile.
Oscar-worthy, Don. It was pretty good. It was a good performance.
Oh my gosh!
And this guy goes out there, and this is the question too. People say, "Well, why is he willing?" Look, you know the answer to this. Why would he just go out and say that and feel comfortable saying, "It's not what the stats say"? What do you think the answer is?
No one's going to call him.
No one's going to call him on.
Well, look at the next logical step, right? So Maryland can say, "Oh, it's these other states," and he says, "Okay, well, the federal government has to step in." All right, so let's make an entire policy for the United States that will take care of this problem. Okay, well, we have neighbors. We have Canada and Mexico. We can't control their gun policy, and guns obviously come across the border. So what are you going to do then?
Not many from Canada.
Run this thing through to the end, Joe.
Yeah.
If guns are coming from these places and in your utopia, you get that solved, how do you take care of Mexico? Because I think there's cartels down there. I think they have guns. I'm not sure. I've seen Sicario. Looks like they do.
They put heads on turtles. I know that. From Canada, you're not really getting much. You're just getting a few wrist rockets. Their dealers, their arms dealers, just Dennis the Menace. If you show up and you see a kid in a striped shirt and overalls, run the other way. Bad news.
Hey, where can I get some little bastard ammo?
Ooh. Those little poppers you throw on the ground.
Mr. Wilson's head is just crawling by in a box towards us.
Yeah. They just hope you get caught in the maple syrup. Okay?
Dennis! Yeah. All right. Now, here's something else, too, when you're talking about the swamp. We talked about it continuing on guns. David Chipman is the one who, he's been appointed, ATF director.
Yeah. Well, hasn't been confirmed.
Hasn't been
bridge
confirmed.
Troll, yeah.
That's right. It's like charged versus convicted.
That's true.
Or in David Chipman's case, like charged versus convicted. So he's the one who wants to, for people who don't remember, and I have some interesting information here on where his money has gone. It's just, I'll get back to Dinesh D'Souza in a second. This is the guy who wanted to ban assault weapons and couldn't even define the term when being questioned officially here.
It'll come back.
I want to turn to a second matter now, Mr. Chipman. You have called for an assault weapons ban. I have a simple question for you. What is an assault weapon?
Senator, an assault weapon would be, in the context of the question you asked, what Congress defines it as.
Well, so I've been in Walmarts and I've been in Cabela's, and I've seen that you can find sections for pistols or handguns or for shotguns or for rifles because those are actual kinds of firearms. I think our exchange here illustrates that there really is no such thing as an assault weapon.
You know how people have often said sunlight is the best disinfectant?
Yeah.
If you actually just put a UV light on David Chipman, he turns to ash.
He does shrivel up and die.
Like Blade.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, if you're going in,
my inner powder.
if you're a guy who is trying to determine policy or enforce policy for the U.S. government, you never go in and say, my job is defined by whatever you say is wrong with the country. I will go and take every gun out of every home if Congress says that they are all assault weapons. How in the world is that the right kind of thinking?
If you watch the full interview, he later defines assault weapons. He talks about them. It just flows right out of his mouth.
He says,
doesn't even realize
I defer back to the definition and talking about the assault.
No, he casually uses the term assault weapon. He says AR-15s and other assault-type weapons. He says that in that interview.
But other assault-type weapons is even worse because that includes every basic handgun.
What if Congress comes out and says handguns are assault weapons? By what he just said, it's like, well, whatever Congress defines it as, I guess I got to go get those.
I didn't have time to define it. I was too busy eating flies.
It's very specific and disgusting.
I'm a child.
They tend to hang around the human feces on the streets. And
So, and by the way, we're going to do our costume contest winner on Mug Club
That's right.
later on. Play a California-themed hipster or hobo. So just wanted to let you know to send your stuff.
It's going to be tough.
So actually, a shout-out to, I don't know this person, but Mom at Arms, who drew attention to this for us. I don't know how many people have talked about this. FEC, the individual contributions, their data, which is available, shows that David Chipman, Biden's the ATF director, again, this guy, it shows how much he donated to prominent Democrat organizations. Now, let's go through these numbers again, thanks to Mom at Arms. In 2020, okay, just $120 to Act Blue PAC. That doesn't seem like a whole lot. $500 to Biden for president. That's not a whole lot.
No.
But then he did give, to be fair, just want to be fair, $2,000 to a Republican organization.
Really?
Yeah, the Lincoln Project.
Dude, come on.
So here's the thing. His hatred for Republicans is just outweighed by his love for pedophiles.
Yeah,
so the Lincoln Project.
That's what it shows.
Jeez. Can they really be classified as a Republican organization? Come on. That's been debunked.
I mean, at a certain point, like when people are mad that you're besmirching the reputation of someone, Lincoln, not a perfect man, taught himself to read by candlelight, was a wrestler, was a great man with an axe, Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves. And you guys are groomers.
Lots of comparisons there.
Yeah. I just don't think you should be comparing grooming pedophiles of the Lincoln Project to Abraham Lincoln.
No,
Doesn't pass the penny test. So there's also records of David Chipman donating to Barack Obama in 2008. His wife, Tara, has given $22,000 to Democratic organizations, including $1,000 to Biden's campaign. So the total from David and his wife, David Chipman, to Democratic organizations since 2008 is something around $41,000.
Jeez.
According to the FEC.
Does that include the Lincoln Project?
I have no idea.
We should. That should just be lumped in.
It does include it. Yeah, okay, of course. I was just being facetious. Yeah. Of course it includes a Lincoln Project. Anyone surprised? Did you guys know this?
I had no idea that. And look, I mean, people can give political donations as much as they want, but when somebody comes in front of their hearing to be confirmed and they say, I don't have any strong opinions on doing this job, whatever you guys tell me to do, you're like, we're going to have to talk to somebody else about this. By the way, who do you think you're going to side with on this? Do you think you're going to push back if Joe Biden does something illegal or if Congress puts out a plan that's actually illegal? Are you going to push back? No, you donated to them. You're in bed with them already.
Right.
We need somebody who has a little bit of balls in that.
Well, I think there's a little bit more than that. Look, it's not only just giving to Democrats, but here's the issue. When people say, I'm not anti-gun, right? They say, I'm pro-gun control. I just want responsible gun ownership.
Yeah.
What balanced legislations have the Democrats promoted? In other words, all the people David Chipman is given to, right? Where have they said, hey, let's make it more accessible for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. Let's make it harder for criminals to get them. Hey, we're not anti-gun, so here's a balanced proposal. In other words, as opposed to saying, hey, we're not anti-gun, but we need background checks. Well, you already have them. We need waiting periods. People die when they have waiting periods and they have restraining orders. And we don't think anyone should be able to own basic handguns. We'll define them as an assault weapon. Well, that's silly. Where is the balance that's being proposed? The balance is just fire a double-barrel shotgun in the air. And this guy wants to be illegal in control of the ATF.
Wasn't he also the guy in Waco?
Yes.
Yes, he was. Ruby Ridge-ish.
Well, their problems aren't going away in these Democrat cities because their policies
escalating.
Their policies can't fix them. They can't be fixed.
Yeah.
So they're not going away. They'll always have to deal with that issue.
Right. And when you're talking about guns, will you stop blaming an inanimate object for problems that you're having in your city? Will you blame criminals, please? Will you focus on the actual problem?
Oh, wait, hold on a second. CNN is live right now. Homicides in Minneapolis on pace to reach highest totals in years. Let's see how they spin this, okay? We're here live.
The harm that has happened at the hands of a dysfunctional police force. Which has to be transformed. That's our demand. That's where the whole slogan around Black Lives Matters comes from. And while we do that, and while we invest in social supports, in ending the racism in education and health and income and wealth and all of that stuff, we have to also
higher
have
than average per pupil spending in Minneapolis.
Sufficient levels of staffing of police officers that will keep our babies, our elderly, and our citizens safe. And so
when you say defund the police and we need sufficient staffing, doesn't that require funding? Or do you just expect everyone to work in perpetuity and collect unemployment checks because that's what you want to do? That's what Biden wanted to continue. I don't understand. How do you staff the police force? Everything she just said was doublespeak and stupid.
I feel like Jim Carrey needs to break in and just be like, stop breaking the law, assholes!
Yes.
And maybe that would help. That's where you need to start, and then we'll talk about these other programs.
No. It's racism in schooling and, whatnot. Let's hear her talk more.
What I would say is that some of the decisions have just been premature, and they've harmed the very people they were intended to help.
Like
and that's
defunding
the Black
the police?
community.
Yeah.
You said our babies, so let's talk about the kids of Minneapolis for a moment. At least 22 children.
By the way, a lot of
shot
youth are involved in
so
carjackings now, too.
Let's
So
look
again, like I said, Minneapolis,
at
St. Paul, triple. We brought that up earlier. Tripled the carjackings.
Yeah.
Now, they just say, a lot of kids shot. A lot of kids
By
are
who?
performing carjacking.
Yeah, by who? By who?
So, in other words, for every carjacking that is recorded successfully, how many are thwarted by someone defending themselves, their God-given right? So let's see if they even touch on that.
Ladavian Garrett Jr. shot in the head in April, riding with his parents. As a black mother, what reform, right? You say don't defund, but reform police. What saves our kids?
Right. So what saves our kids, and I think the president said this great in a wonderful way, Poppy, it's going to take all of us to really think through what our solutions are.
But your city council, hey guys, bring it up there from the research room. Was it their city council or committee that voted to defund the police? It was like 9 votes. There was an actual city council or charter.
Yeah.
So let's go.
The racism in education, the racism in housing, the racism in health, the racism in the disparities around income. I mean, it's all of that.
It's all racism.
So we have to get at all of it. But
So you believe that you've seen a tripling in carjackings against civilians because of racism in housing and health?
That makes sense.
And education, don't forget
and education, don't forget that. Even though there's higher per pupil spending, and the teachers' unions, of course,
we need more money.
Will not allow charter schools or school voucher programs at all.
No, those are better for kids, and we don't want that. Did I say that out loud?
Oops.
And again,
It's
it was your
racism.
stupid city that voted to defund the police. This is just, again, none of them are called. Minneapolis City Council votes to remove $8 million from police budget.
That'll get more
there you
cops
go.
on the street.
That happened right away. She's like, maybe we rushed to decisions. Well, now I'm hearing you rushing to other decisions.
I can't believe this. I really can't. I can believe it. A second ago, but like not one word about saying men step up in your communities and do a better job at being fathers. Not one word about families saying, hey, step up and make sure that your kids are not out on the street committing crimes and joining gangs and shooting up cars. The people that they just put up there to kind of pull at your heartstrings, the kids, were shot by people who just randomly shot in cars. Yeah. It wasn't cops.
I don't know all of them.
pulling
Maybe
up.
they might claim they were cops. I have no idea.
They were not
I don't
cops.
know. Okay.
There's been no claim that they were cops. It was thug criminals that did that, and you're going to be like, well, how do we fix this?
I'm looking
as a
I'm
black
looking on a
mother,
small
though,
monitor.
as a black mother.
Yeah, as a black mother. Hey, how about just as a mother who wants a city without crime? How about that? Let's
Were
hear
those
it.
white supremacist thugs, Gerald?
They had to be. They
Yeah, it was Ed Furlong in a black bomber jacket
into town.
Yeah.
be focused on, which I'm excited by.
Luxandra, you have said that this is really at the heart of the fight for the heart of America. So we will continue to have your voice on this. Of
course you will. No, you know what? You're fighting against the heart of
Minneapolis.
America. Let me be really clear. You are fighting against the heart of America when you believe that the kinds of policies that you voted for in Minneapolis are what Americans want. 80%, 80+% of black Americans. Keep in mind, this is something, too, that no one wants to talk about. That broad on that television, okay, is only walking back the defund the police to reform because she is completely out of touch with Black America.
Right.
The voices that we see on CNN, the voices that we see on ABC, NBC, CBS, if you were an alien beep, beep, and you landed right here on Earth, you would think that all Black Americans must want to defund the police until someone says, here's poll after poll after poll. At intervals of 3 months, it's never lower than 80%. It's higher than white people. The last poll was white people, 77% said at least as much of a police presence or more. Over 80% of Black people.
Yeah.
Where's their voice?
You know what they're doing? They're calling out for help in their communities, and you're saying we need to send in social workers and we need to defund the police. How in the world can you be that out of touch with what people need?
And this is also, by the way, the beauty of being able to do this show live. You know, there's nothing up the sleeve. This is happening live right now. We didn't intend to talk about Minneapolis crime and them go up there and spewing their bullshit. This is what happens all the time. And let me get a little conspiratorial with you here. Okay? Now, I don't mean conspiratorial because what inspired this idea was the Black Lives Matter website and their charter. So, they say they want to just seek the destruction of the nuclear family. That's what they say because it's an example of white supremacy and patriarchy, and the two are often interchangeable.
They've already done that.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously what they're trying to do right here. Look, the most significant safeguard, against not only an overly encroaching government, but all of society's ills. Nuclear family. Mommy, daddy, kids. Period. It's not even close. We all know this. This was the foundational building block of this country, that the only way a constitutional republic like this that afforded more freedoms than any country before it, and still became a global superpower, by the way, as opposed to a nation of drugged-out libertines, was we need, before federal government, before state government, we need the nuclear family, and that's why it was encouraged. And when you hear everything she just said, it's about public schooling. It's about racism in housing. It's about racism in healthcare. That is now saying it's the government's job to do all of those things for you. Not mommy and daddy. It's not their job to take care of you. Trust Big Daddy government. We're like the Big Brother program. We're the one who's going to help you. It is easy to get your claws in children, just like Lincoln Project. If you're a sexual predator, if you're a grooming pedophile, guess what you look for? Someone with a weak family structure. Ideally, someone without a father figure. It's really easy for big government socialist policies to get their claws in you when you're at your youngest, most vulnerable, and you don't have someone to watch your back like a dad.
And somebody to, honestly, if you do all of these policies, if you enact everything that they want to get rid of the quote-unquote systemic racism that's plaguing their communities, you're not going to fix the problem.
No,
of course you're still going to have people in broken families.
And you know what else too? People often use this term deep state, and a lot of people who use it are morons, where they just want to say deep state, deep state, deep state. Here's what to me, when we talk about that, because it's a valid point, what it actually is. Unelected officials who enact basically laws through regulations. People think that it's just a law. You have people like Chipman. Is he going to be elected? But he's going to have a say on whether you get to keep that revolver if it has a 10-round cylinder. He's going to have a say if your Glock 19 is still allowed in your state. He's going to have a say if you have a rapist tracking you down in New Jersey, right, and you have a restraining order and he's blown through it, but you have to wait 30 days. He's unelected. Guess what? People who are unelected are going to have a say on what your police department is allowed to do. People who are unelected are going to have a say in how much you spend on local housing. These are unelected people who serve exclusively to protect other unelected people. If you actually look at Washington, D.C., and you look at the amount of people who work there, who work in government, who were actually elected as part of the constitutional republic, versus people who work there and throw up red tape, bureaucratic regulations, and I'm not even talking about lobbyists. I'm not even including them. That's what the deep state is. Anyone who is unelected and a career politician. You know, people like Fauci, people like Chipman.
People who have been in there forever and have no accountability for their past mistakes.
I'm not saying that there's an underground pizza parlor where the Lincoln Project keeps kids chained up against the wall. What I am saying is someone like a Fauci, someone like a David Chipman, who was involved with tear gassing women and children in Waco. Fauci, who was wrong about everything when it came to AIDS and cost potentially millions of lives, has more control over your life than your family if they had their way. That should scare the shit out of you. And that's not conspiratorial. That's reality. That's the deep state.
Right. And the left is actually pushing those individuals as being correct and above reproach.
Yeah.
Right. They're deifying these people and saying, oh, well, they just are fantastic. We've gotten the experts in the room now. No matter,
question.
Don't look at what they've actually said and don't look at what the results have actually been from that.
It really is remarkable. So, and you guys can, you can let me know. Am I wrong? What do you think of deep state? I think it goes beyond just career politician like Joe Biden, because at some point he was elected.
Well, at least the politicians are out front, right? You can see them. You understand what they're doing. It's these other actors behind the scenes that are just in government-appointed positions that you never hear about.
At least they're out front. Unless you're a 9-year-old with Joe Biden, then he's
well,
behind.
that's, it's hard to sniff from in front.
Those cornrows aren't going to sniff themselves. So let's continue with this, a perfect state that's an example. Perfect city, Detroit. Oh, you know what? Before this, do we have that girl? We have that girl right now. Do we have we have parent. You know what? Let's include the parent, I think, at this point. Okay. I think it's important to include this. This is actually, in talking about this, Parent of the Week. Here we go. And this guy was complaining, I believe, at a parent-teacher conference. And you're seeing this more because parents are finally aware of what their kids are being taught.
Yeah.
They're going, wait a second. Actually, Andrew Breitbart, who I was sort of set under his tutelage, I remember he brought out, and I think we brought this up a long time, if you have kids, I'd probably have them get rid of the room right now. Get them out of the room right now.
Yeah.
Not get rid of the room.
How do you do that?
You can't do that.
I don't know. Ask Joe Biden.
Just throw the room away.
I assume they can take in the padding or take it out.
There it is.
Kevin Jennings, I believe was it Kevin Jennings? There's one guy who's Jeopardy. I believe he was head of some Department of Education, some type of education czar. You guys can find it. And there was audio tape of him teaching junior high schoolers how to fist each other.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
That's a good thing.
No, it's not.
Pugilism?
Yeah, pugilism.
Boxing?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was teaching them how to fist each other. And this was something that, of course, people thought, wow, it's just conspiratorial, Andrew Breitbart, just like they said with Anthony Weiner. Remember that? They were saying, oh, Anthony Weiner, Andrew Breitbart.
Right. That's ridiculous.
Alec Baldwin said, this Anthony Weiner story has a whiff of Breitbart. Well, you mean it's true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kind of stuff, and then you had parents now going to teacher conferences going, you're teaching them fisting? Wait, you're teaching them critical race theory? You had my child fill out a form as to what sins they're guilty of because someone in their lineage may have owned slaves? People are waking up. It's not just about critical race theory. Parents have taken too inactive of a role, particularly when it relates to public education.
Yes.
I think right now, if you send your kids to public school, personally, I think you're doing your child a great disservice in the United States of America right now. Do whatever you got to do to send them to anything other than public school. And if you have to send them to public school, you better be involved with everything because you are handing your child off for 8 hours a day to, now we know, not necessarily heroes, blue-haired angry feminists who refuse to give your kid a cupcake because he's a straight white male.
Yeah.
This is what's going on.
It's less education and more indoctrination in a lot of these schools.
Also,
not every teacher, of course.
I would say maybe 30% education, 70% indoctrination, and 200% aggravation.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. That was my Johnny Cochran.
I like it, yeah. Yeah. Good job, John.
Education, indoctrination, it's not affirmation.
You know what's really interesting, too? It's not just that parents have realized what their kids are being taught. It's they realize that the school boards are accountable to them. They realize the power that they now have over school boards, and they're showing up at these meetings, and they're starting to push back.
They're realizing it, but you know who doesn't? The school board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They, again,
it's a rude awakening.
They call the cops on them.
Just like the left has been so unaccountable for so long from the media, teachers, they thought, well, no one will question. We're the heroes.
We've got a union.
We have our own teacher signel. Yeah. It's just closed for pedagogical day because Alfred, that's this. What are we going to do? Work 11 months a year? 10? No. Are you out of your mind, sir? 9 sounds like a good number.
I thought it was amazing. The guy that was taken down at the Loudoun County, Virginia, PTA meeting. Perfect takedown by the cops in that instance. With the parent. Yeah, perfect takedown. Not so much with the guys in the streets.
No, not so much.
Last summer.
No, not so much. No, it depends on it's context driven.
Of course, he was yelling.
So here is a father yelling. I don't know where this. Do we know where this took place? Someone can let me know.
I'm not sure.
At the local school board about what they're teaching the children, and not only that, but this. I believe the school board tried to stop parents from even being allowed to criticize. Here you go.
I'm
but
quoting,
not
just
do
a minute, do
name
not
calling
talk
like
over
you
me.
just did.
This is my comment, not your comment. I'm quoting to you now from the United States Supreme Court 1964 case, New York Times versus Sullivan. This is constitutional case law in this country, and I'm quoting you from the U.S. Supreme Court. The judges wrote that this nation is founded on the, quote, profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues shall be uninhibited, robust, and wide open, and that it may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. That's constitutional case law in this nation. I don't have to be nice to you. Nobody behind me has to be nice to you. If you don't like living in the United States of America, then you can all move to Russia, Cuba, or China. This is the First Amendment.
Put that guy on our team. I don't care about his fruity accent.
I will caution you, solicitor. There is a video camera to my left. If you edit this tape, then you're going to have a big legal problem on your hands.
Now it's a sex tape.
Because my right to critique your fascism, which is what this is constitutionally protected. There are emails, public record emails, in which the Director of Equity is lobbying and advocating for public comment to be censored in this school district. And you know what? You know what? Lobbying for it, advocating for it. We've got the school board president saying she'll do better at hitting the mute button in blatant violation of the Constitution for her lobbying and her advocacy of unconstitutional censorship. I want you, the school board, to terminate the employment of Dr. Charissa Gibson with immediate effect.
Hear, hear. Oh, he ain't done. He goes on.
I know, he goes on. We just can't run the floor.
No, I know. You know what he said after that? He goes, by the way, as soon as you've done that and as soon as she's gone, every one of you must resign immediately.
Yeah. And by the way, you know what's important about this? People always say when you talk about, oh, you know, censorship on YouTube or on Twitter, they go, oh, censorship is only government. First off, that's not really true. Technically, you can censor somebody anywhere. It doesn't have to be an action of government. Corporate censorship is a thing. The issue there is, of course, the cozy relationship between big tech and government and the legal protections afforded. However, it still is corporate censorship. But they go, oh, well, why don't you go start your own big tech? Okay. Does it apply when you're talking about a public education system? And they're trying to prevent criticism against, because guess what? That's still supported. In other words, there is no case where they would be, well, okay, you know what, you're right. No, they try and say, there you go, conservatives decrying censorship again. What would you call it? When members of school boards and teachers try to remove the ability for parents of the children attending said schools, the ability to criticize. What would you call it? Is that no longer censorship? What would you call it? When you're going to spy on Americans right now if they're considered right-wing extremists, deeming them domestic terrorists through arbitrary rules that likely can be decided by members of the deep state, meaning unelected officials who share similar views to David Renfield Chipman. In other words, at what point do you say it's censorship?
Yeah. Never.
When Donald Trump calls something fake news? Honestly, when do you say... Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, even though they enjoy the legal protections of being a public platform, a utility, right? Not being a publisher, it's not censorship. School board meeting, it's not censorship. You don't have the right to be rude. No, as a matter of fact, the First Amendment is specifically the right to be rude. So my question to people on the left, including classical liberals who don't want to actually acknowledge that they're conservatives now, what would you consider censorship? Does it have to be the government beating down your door and putting a ball gag on your mouth? Which, by the way, could be confused for your weekly appointment with a Lincoln Project committee member.
Or, you know, June in San Francisco.
June in San Francisco.
That's true.
You know, just hand them out.
Or just any month in the year.
Nice.
July, August.
Yeah, well, you know. I love, by the way, that this guy goes in there and is like, and I can't believe that we had to have the Supreme Court tell you that free speech didn't have to be nice. That's essentially what it took from it. And he was saying,
it took a catty teen.
Yeah, exactly. You're muting me because you don't like what I'm saying. How in the world do you think that that's okay? And a British guy comes over and quotes free speech. By the way, they don't have that really in England.
No, they don't.
There's no really. They don't.
Not at all, right? Not at all. I was trying to be generous to them because I have some English friends.
Robust means something. It's not just,
exactly.
You know, I kind of sort of...
There's something very disturbing about you saying the word robust while twirling your heel.
Well, it's my size 15 pump, Stephen.
Oh, geez. They've got to make all new shoe sizes for women now.
Oh, my God. That was Pennsbury School District in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, nice.
And we do have the kid, if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. You know what? Okay, and I'll say this, too. That's Parent of the Week. We have Kid of the Week, and then we're going to get to why California is awful. I don't usually like using clips. People kind of know this. I have a moratorium on using children because I feel like people use them as political. I'm sorry, I still keep laughing at Jack Dorsey. Great job, by the way, Angela and Francine. That's unbelievable. That really, I didn't know if Jack Dorsey was going to translate on camera. It couldn't be more clear as to who you are.
I'm not sure that's a compliment to me.
I usually don't like using kids because you end up with like a Greta Thunberg, who's not really a kid. She's 18. Yeah. She was, keep in mind, Greta Thunberg was 16 and a half, right? So they just dressed her like she should be at Build-A-Bear workshop.
I thought she was like 13 years old.
Whereas this next girl, who looks the exact age as Greta Thunberg, is 9 years old, and you can hear by the way that she's speaking that this is clearly the frustrations being vented by a 9-year-old. It's one of the few instances to me that comes across as authentic, and I will vote her president.
I looked up onto the wall and saw a BLM poster and an Amanda Gorman poster. In case you don't know who that chick is, she's some girl who did a poem at Biden's so-called inauguration. I was so mad. I went up to my principal to tell him about the BLM poster and that I wanted it down. He said it's not coming down. I was like, yeah, it is, because the school board said on May 25th, no BLM or politics in school. He said that's weird. They were the ones who made them. I said there should be no BLM in schools, period. Does not matter the color you make the posters and the font you use. We all understand the meaning. It is a political message about getting rid of police officers, rioting, burning buildings down while King Governor Welch just sits on his throne. We all know. Changing the font or the color of posters does not change the meaning. I am 9 years old and I know that.
I love how she looks exactly like Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Only, unlike Greta, who had to kind of, use her window of opportunity of a year where it was YouTube's policy where you couldn't criticize her. She's got like, what does she have?
Time.
She has 9 left. She's got 9 left.
She's throwing down the gauntlet.
Please, sweetheart, just use it. Criticize everybody. They can't say anything back. They're not allowed. It's big tech policy.
They get removed.
I love how often she's like, they said they're just not going to take it down. I was like, yeah, you are.
I was like, yes.
Contrast that with Greta Thunberg. You sit on your throne of visions of endless profits and capitalism, when really we should ascertain. Shut up. You know what? I guess it was sort of self-fulfilling because no one cares anymore.
How dare you?
Well, we continue to dare. By the way, I love how she quoted the policy to him. She didn't just say, I don't like it. She said, yeah, you are, because, here you go, policy.
This is what you wrote?
Yeah. Way to do it.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, that's strange. I mean, they're the ones that put the poster up. And I was like, it's almost like there was some kind of nefarious plot.
Oh, in her American flag tank top that she got at Old Navy before they went purple for 4th of July.
Bastards.
All right, so now let's move on here. By the way, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot, and especially the schedule is going to be a little bit intermittent here for the month of July.
Yeah.
Some Change My Minds, some long-form videos,
as it does every
documentary.
Year.
Every July we take some, we take about 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
So we don't want to hear in the comment section, where are you?
Yeah,
No.
well, no, it's okay.
We're coming back the next month.
There will be about, I think, 5 to 7 like long-form episodes. We have some Ash Wednesdays, actually. One with Jason Whitlock, one with Nick DiPaolo and Dave Landau. So we've been pre-taping a lot of stuff. We have to upgrade the studio, and I have to open my chest.
You have to
and
upgrade
get
your
3
heart.
titanium rods. But no, not my heart's. My heart doesn't work well, but my heart itself is perfect. I'll explain it later. It's my bone is caving into my heart.
Yeah. So what happens if I punch you really hard in the chest?
I die.
Really?
How dare you?
That's a missed opportunity. No, I'm kidding.
How dare you?
Too many.
You're like Superman. You got to.
It's almost the reason for getting it fixed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about California, since it's Cultural Appropriation Month. It sucks. Now, we all know that it sucks. We all know that California is not doing well.
Right.
They've had population loss, which is almost unheard of in a state with that much oceanfront property.
And mountains and beauty everywhere.
And just rich in natural resources, unfortunately rich in natural assholes. So
they tend to flock there.
It's just
they grow there.
saturated.
It's the soil. It's something
like
in the soil. I don't know.
Capistrano.
Filled to the brim. So let's start with this. A few reasons why California is up. Hey, do you remember, I think it was about this time last year, when Donald Trump pointed out that California, their wildfires were out of control due to poor forest management. I don't know if you remember it. Let's go back in time.
And I see again the forest fires are starting. It's starting again in California. I said, you got to clean your floors. You got to clean your forests. They have many, many years of leaves and broken trees, and they're like so flammable. You touch
So
them and
flammable.
it goes up. I've been telling them this now for 3 years, but they don't want to listen. The environment.
The environment.
I love how they play that as a like. Yeah.
An own? It's
it's
actually true.
You clean your floor. And here's what they try to do. They try to go, Donald Trump. I'm surprised they didn't say Donald Trump tried to, Mr. Clean the Floor, tried to pine sol, the redwoods, just like they said Donald Trump tried to inject you with bleach. No, he said disinfectant, said maybe we could get in the body. He said clean the floor. The difference is he says things that sound that are inarticulate, let's be honest, but he knows what he means.
Exactly, and he's not wrong.
Whereas
when he
Joe
says that.
Biden has no idea.
Yeah.
It seems like that would be an industry term, clean the floor of the forest floor. They would probably use that term.
Mr. Miyagi did it.
Yeah, clean the floor.
Send the floor.
This is not, and I know we have some stuff we got to get to about this, but this is not rocket science. Like, I follow this very closely because of the wine business, and you're going to find, I'll give you a fact after you go through.
Okay, well, because keep in mind that Trump was mocked mercilessly by the media. Right here we have from Politico, USA Today. They said that they didn't think he understood the science of wildfires. It says, Trump's suggestions have prompted head-scratching from experts who say his prescriptions, more raking, less water released into the ocean for environmental purposes, suggest he does not understand the science of wildfires. Then USA Today reported the issue would only get worse if Trump ignores climate change. And Gavin Newsom tweeted, "You don't believe in climate change. You are excused from this conversation." Hey, that's a tactic of the left. Just remove them from the conversation. Just like parents at PTA meetings or people on big tech platforms or the president from big tech platforms. Or in this case, the president from being correct.
Absolutely. Well, look, you have wildfires that are going to happen in this part of the country every single year. This is not a surprise. What you see, though, is from 2012, I believe, to 2016, or maybe even started just before that, this huge drought, right? Not a lot of wildfires. They had some, for sure, but not crazy. You know when the first year that they had, like, crazy wildfires in that entire stretch was? 2017. Do you know what happened at the end of 2016? It rained! Stuff grew, then it died, then it caught on fire. You know what happened in 2020? It rained in 18 and 19. Stuff grew, it died, it caught on fire. If you get rid of that stuff, you greatly enhance your chances of avoiding massive, out-of-control fires. Yeah. By the way, the last two, I believe, were either caused by the gender reveal or the major ones were caused by PG&E. Right? They've just been sued for that. They had to pay a ton of money for that. They had to go through and retrofit their lines so they couldn't touch it. Who thinks that's a good idea?
Well, by the way, you get a couple birds in your beard and you're Mr. Arborist.
Well, listen, I want good wine to come from California in 2020 is a complete.
You told me you had a couple of tidbits.
Sorry.
Because you know about wine. That's the whole segment.
That was a deep dive.
No,
that's good. Well, and also, by the way, you were talking about the P&E.
PG&E,
PG&E, sorry, you were talking about them. Then, of course, it's exacerbated by them not clearing debris, by them not doing controlled burns.
Right.
That's what people don't understand.
And listen, by the way, don't buy a house in the middle of nowhere with a fire department 45 minutes away and woods all around you. That's a bad idea.
Well, how am I gonna piss in a giant tree next to David Gergen dressed in a female tracksuit?
Well, no, I'm fine. We just won't count your body as the toll. You know, like when you die, we'll just be like, no, he didn't die.
There's someone going nuts in the comments section right now if they know. By the way, hit that like button. If you're watching right now, live, this second, you can do it. Hit the like button. If you know what I'm talking about with David Gergen in the Redwoods.
9.
So, guess what? Donald Trump is out of office.
Yeah.
And kind of like Donald Trump's out of office, now we can say, maybe, like before we're saying, no leak. There's no lab leak. And then did he close the door? There might be a leak. Now, Donald Trump is out of office, right? What? He doesn't know anything about the science. Why are you talking about clean the floor? No, clean the floor. What is he? He doesn't understand climate. Okay, is he out? He's gone. All right, $500 million to start cleaning the forest floors.
Look at morons,
in California.
Man. Unbelievable.
This comes from Bloomberg. Without all this fuel on the forest floor, California officials contend blazes will be less likely to turn into the mega fires that devour thousands of acres.
Well, that's interesting. It's almost like that's a good idea.
And by the way, this isn't conjecture. All sources available at loudearthcreditor.com. Scientists said, well, we actually thought the lab leak might have been possible, but we didn't want to be attributed with Donald Trump. Kind of like people said, well, you don't need a mask after the vaccine, but we don't want people to think that we're freedom-loving Republicans.
Right. Well, there's actually an expert in an AP article from Alberta who said in one paragraph, he said, I have Donald Trump's plan. I'm paraphrasing. Donald Trump's plan, cleaning, whatever. That's not. And then the next paragraph down, absolutely. It actually helps if you do that to make sure there's not enough fuel for fires.
Of course it does.
What I was like, are you the same person that said that? Just the paragraph above?
Yeah.
That's why I need to be governor, fellas.
Yeah. You can make the change.
You seem
necessary.
Positively reasonable.
Well, he's gonna piss him out. It's a fire hose. Guy took
That's
on
why you
the
don't cut it off.
She
It
took
came
on the
dangerously close to my home in Malibu, as you know, folks.
This needs to change.
You ain't black.
The only thing dangerously close to Malibu is you.
Yes.
So,
President
yeah,
for
$500 million. And we'll go back to while you're talking about California and their water issues.
Oh, it's
yeah, they have those too.
Yeah, that's another thing. Got to save the salmon and smelt.
Smelt.
So, assault weapons is another issue in California. It's not just wildfires that suck, and of course, they're doublespeak politics. A few weeks back, we covered how a judge, of course, said that the assault weapons ban in California, you can bring up the overlay, was unconstitutional.
That was amazing.
Right? Government is not free to impose its own new policy choices on American citizens where constitutional rights are concerned. We said, well, we don't know if this is going to stand. Well, right now, it's not. The Ninth Circuit blocked Benitez's ruling, furthering review. And this is important to note. This is also why when people say, hey, the court, look, any institution can be politicized. You have a judge, and then you had other judges say no. And then maybe, you never know. Sometimes it goes to the Supreme Court, and they decide another. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's why we need a system of checks and balances.
Right.
Of course. That's also why you should have some people who are somewhat accountable.
Yeah, well, and it shouldn't be like that, but it is. The Ninth Circuit, is notorious for being super liberal, right? Anything that goes through the D.C. circuits as well, same thing's going to happen. Same thing for these guys. They do all California, the West Coast, Arizona, all of it. So it's always going to happen like that. Just wait till it gets to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we'll see. And by the way, this ruling is especially bad in California. Really, because of, it's most bad for, I don't know if it's considered a term or not, but rooftop Koreans. People know about rooftop Koreans. It's actually a thing in California.
What's that?
It is.
But it's not what everyone thought. They have a problem with.
It's on,
they have a problem with the
CNN.
Godzilla rooftop. Is this in California?
Yes, California.
Breaking, yeah.
Well, I just hope the girl from
CNN.
Stranger Things is safe.
I know. Well, look, that just usually pisses him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough.
Koreans get pissed off easily.
No, I mean Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's like,
sure.
Well,
it's
a
like,
little both of it.
It's like gnats flying around. He's
column
like,
B.
what are these bullets? Oh, I'm just going to attack the thing firing at me.
And he holds the trigger before aiming.
Yeah,
that's true.
And it's not an automatic. It's crazy how he does that.
Hey, I have a quick breaking news update.
Oh, what's happening?
So Rudy Giuliani has been suspended from practicing law in New York.
Oh, really?
New York, huh?
No, well,
an unbiased state if I've ever seen one.
Hey, look, I understand that the law needs to be respected, and Giuliani, maybe there were some infractions, but I suggest a career in carjacking.
It's going up.
Numbers are up.
Yeah.
It's a growth industry.
Future in that.
Yeah. Just saying.
Can I buy stock in
Target
homelessness is another problem in California. Of
Major
course,
problem.
we all know this.
Yeah.
Joe Lewis actually crawled into that tent. We didn't know if he was going to stay in the tent. Now he likes it.
He's content.
Yes, he likes it.
Content.
Could you imagine if you just woke
Thanks
up
for
and he
explaining
crawled
my
into
joke.
your tent? Could you imagine if you woke up and that monster was in your tent?
I would do whatever he said.
Just be like, you know what?
What he say?
The way he said.
You mean business?
You mean what he said?
So homelessness rose. This is what's so shocking to me. You know that people are leaving California. People at Daily Wire, Joe Rogan, Bill Maher is talking about leaving California.
Can you leave your policies in California, by the way? This is a little public service announcement for Californians moving elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's great here because your policies aren't here.
Right, yeah.
Because you haven't been here.
Well, just give it time. So homelessness, though, before the pandemic, 2018 to 2020 rose 24%.
Jeez.
And
those my bros.
Yeah, 24%.
Wow.
And of course, San Francisco is one of the main, I guess you would say, main drivers of this, main culprits, main shitholes. Over 8,000 homeless people out of a population of under 900,000.
Yeah, club's growing.
That's a lot.
That's a huge number of homeless people. Piles of human crap
It's almost
litter
like
the
they
streets.
Had laws that encouraged people.
Yes. You would almost think so.
Be able to
And what's
camp out
funny
there.
is the mayor of Austin, when he was on Joe Rogan's show, he was
Yeah.
talking about how, we really wanted to get a handle on the homeless problem. So I spoke with the mayors of San Francisco and Seattle. Come again, stupid?
Did you really?
What?
I'm kind of retarded. Yes.
This is because, and then people say, why are you being tribal? When you have a mayor of a major city in Austin who really could speak with any other mayor of a major city in Texas that's not Austin, and he's reaching to the worst San Francisco and second worst Seattle, let's just be honest about this. When people try and say, they only try and accuse you of being tribalistic when you're a conservative and you just draw a line in the sand and say no. This is what Democrats do. We know it. There are no people who reach across the aisle anymore. And I don't know where you find common ground when it's the party that believes abortion up until and including birth, and they will actively oppose Donald Trump on forest fires, on lab leaks, on economic policies, just because it's from Donald Trump. How do you find common ground with that?
Right. It's like people who have a human trafficking problem reaching out to Bangkok to figure out how they've solved it. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, let's call Cambodia, too. Number 1 and number 2 in the world.
Way to vilify an entire nation of people there,
Listen,
Jack.
I'm sorry. They're number 1 and number 2 in the world in a terrible crime.
Yeah, I can absolutely believe it.
Yeah. Seen it firsthand.
This is another thing, of course, rolling blackouts in California. Now we're talking about it. California. And again, keep in mind, this is a state that has so much water, and it also has a lot of running water. It should. It's like there's also, a lot of people don't know this, there's a lot of fresh water in California, too. Not as much as like Michigan or Wisconsin, but it also has oceanfront property. You're talking about a place that has weather that is conducive to maintaining a population. Really, you would have to attempt to screw it up, which they have.
Which they succeed.
Doesn't take that much effort for them.
Do you ever just drive across this country and you like just drive through the Phoenix area and you go, wow, someone initially really put some juice into setting up camp here.
A lot of energy.
Pre-air conditioning, you know, I mean, nothing grows.
Let's just stop here.
Like, that breeds a different kind of person, whereas you just walk into California and you have to duck from falling fruit. It's just
it's annoying.
Abundance of everything.
The whole coast is just,
If you were to go back 100 years and tell people, like, actually, one of the fastest growing areas are in, places like Texas and Arizona. They'd be like, the place that doesn't grow. And you said you won't believe it, but 100 years from now, California is going to be covered in human shit. What? And you're going to run out of water. Okay, obviously you're the crazy homeless person because it's California.
Anything grows there.
How do we run out of it? Yeah, you spit a seed.
Seriously.
And it blossoms. It blooms. What are you talking about? I'm like, well, you know what? Wait till you learn about Gavin Newsom.
Jerry Brown before him. Schwarzenegger? Really? You elected an actor?
He was too busy banging the maid who was...
that's true.
By the way, that just shows you that...
Terrible.
It's a love child.
Terrible because she's the most unattractive human being ever.
It's terrible on so many fronts.
Boy, he must have been bored.
I do it because I
can. And on lockdown.
Yeah. It's a crime of power.
It was either her or the butler.
It's not attraction. It's power. Take it. Then you're going to bear me a son who will look like me. I'll say he looks nothing like me. They'll buy it.
It's spitting image. It
really is.
And she's just like, I used to be a Republican. This is the thing. People who watch the show all week, you know what that is. But follow the breadcrumb. Like QAnon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they dump trillions of water, or trillions of gallons of water into the ocean every year in California. Trillion. I'm not kidding. Trillions every single year, because they say that the pumping system that they use is harmful for that smelt that you mentioned earlier, because they're poor swimmers, and they don't like the next paragraph below the story.
No, hold on a second.
A fish, poor swimmer.
So I did my research and I knew about the smelt. Are you telling me? Are you telling me that Tom Selleck has to smuggle water for his avocado farm? Not to mention the people who are dying of thirst and crops, because they have to save. I know the smelt, but they have to save the smelt fish. But this fish needs particular protection.
Yes.
Because it's not good at swimming?
Now that you say it like that.
Nature selected them for extinction.
Exactly.
That's like the Island of Misfit Toys, the boat that can't stay afloat. You're not a boat anymore.
No, exactly. And by the way, you know what the lifespan of this fish is? 1 year.
Yeah, well, I think it should be significant. I think it should be less than that.
Absolutely. What they do,
I think it should be no years.
They blame these pumps, right, that are going to give water to, I don't know, actual human beings that need it to survive. And they say in the next paragraph, oh, and by the way, it has tons of new predators that are eating it left and right. But there's debate on whether the predators are the problem or the pumps.
Yeah, no, the science probably isn't in yet.
No,
if oceanic predators might prey on fish that can't swim.
It just makes
Screw
common
off
sense.
fish. Get out of here.
Trillions
fish.
of gallons.
Crying out loud.
I'm not exaggerating.
That's like when that lady in San Francisco who was swimming with the great whites got bitten in half, and they're like, do we have a cause of death? Take a stab at it. Take a stab at it, David Caruso. Wow!
Suicide. It was suicide.
I won't get fooled again.
And we're like, what was it, COVID? Yes.
That should be a short episode.
Yes, COVID. Oh, my God. That microbe has a really weird bite mark. Okay, so I want to get back to the smelt because I didn't know that part.
Wow.
That's important.
But the rolling blackouts, and I know you're going to say Texas, but it's the totality of this. And yes, Texas may have rolling blackouts, but you also have to understand that we should be able to have an energy grid that can handle this. It's because of bureaucrats who don't allow us to utilize it properly. Just like California, but at least we don't have to save the smelt.
Well, you remember the freeway that had to be rerouted because of the plant that was believed to be extinct. They had to avoid. They rerouted the freeway.
This is in California?
In California.
Yeah.
Bent the entire interstate because of a plant that was believed to be extinct that had to be left to flourish.
Could they just build that freeway right over San Francisco? Like on San Francisco? Like just drop it like Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Good idea.
Onto San Francisco.
So we'll give you a warning.
Rolling blackouts, something they have. 2/3 of California's electricity comes from carbon-free sources. Well, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Except it means they have to have rolling blackouts. Gavin Newsom... Oh, God. He
Very
has to have
popular.
people to shut off large appliances and lights at 3 p.m. every day when this happens.
Oh.
During this major heat wave, we need to conserve energy. A few simple things you can do. Set your AC to 78 degrees or higher during 3 to 10 p.m. Turn off unnecessary lights. Use major appliances during cooler times of the day. So I guess cooking dinner is out.
Yes. Sorry. By the way, you know what 3 to 10 p.m. is? The hottest part of the day, typically.
Basically
until about
all day.
8 o'clock. Thanks a lot, Gavin.
You also can't like take showers and like do laundry.
Well, that explains
things.
You can do anything.
It's pretty bad.
It's almost nicer to be homeless.
Yeah.
The rules don't apply to you then. You can do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
You're like me when I was a kid and I get punished and get sent to my room. I'd be like, well, I wanted to go to my room anyway. So thanks.
Oh, don't make me be homeless.
Don't make me get free food.
No.
Anywhere.
Aha, no. The soup, it's gumbo day at the soup kitchen.
I'm lactose intolerant.
Hey, by the way, if I'm in charge of California, we're serving homeless people milk and smelt. Because they dump milk. They dump milk, too, to fix prices. People don't know about this. This happens with milk and cherries in Michigan.
Oh,
So cherries in Michigan, they're a very persnickety crop, and some years you have an overabundance.
Right.
And they don't even allow the farmers to keep their own cherries to like make pies,
Gotta
right?
destroy them.
So you got to destroy them because we have to make sure that the prices are fixed. To me, I'm like, aren't there homeless people to feed?
I know, right? Yeah. That would be an easy solution to the problem.
Yeah. All right. So California, of course, this goes to droughts. The most recent one lasting 5 years in California, right? 2015 to 2016. And why can't they pump more water? Environmental laws, of course. So this goes back to 2008. The Fish and Wildlife Service, they placed limits on water that could be pumped out of Sacramento, San Joaquin, Delta, and sent south to Central Valley farmers to protect, Delta smelt. Yeah, Delta smelt. So you kind of stole my thunder on that one.
Sorry about that.
But this just happened. So you would say they've learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah.
Right?
They can redeem themselves.
Is that fair? You falling asleep there, Caitlin?
Second chances.
Put him in a dress. It's like he gets lulled to sleep like a womb.
Look, just because you look like a woman doesn't mean you get to act like
it
one.
doesn't
That's
mean
rude.
pay attention.
It is man.
Okay.
I just know he's very.
I'm a horribly ugly woman.
Yeah, well.
You are.
Yes,
You are.
you are.
Like Gene Hackman in Birdcage.
That's putting it generously.
It
So,
is, yeah.
last week, though, we know about the smelt before.
Right.
But now, this is last week, 4 hydroelectric dams in California and Oregon, they have to save migratory salmon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another fish?
We need to save the salmon.
Yeah,
now.
they have to be demolished.
Oh, okay.
Save the salmon.
What about power to save people's lives?
Well, they got to get their omega-3s. You heard of krill oil? Oh, by the way, we can't do that either. Remember? That was the thing, krill oil. Krill used to be something they put in dog food. I'm just going off here because I don't really care. Krill oil used to be used in dog food. They would mash it up and they would say, it's the most sustainable food in the planet because it's at the bottom of the food chain. Right? They would say, don't go after the apex predator. They said krill. And they're like, krill's at the bottom of the food chain. You can't take krill.
That's what everything else is based
They
off
can't take salmon. You can't take krill. Just eat the cicadas.
Once every 20 years. if you survive that long.
This is California is a masterclass in how to screw up a state, just like Detroit is a masterclass in how to screw up a city. People don't know this. Detroit, wealthiest city in the world in the 1950s.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. When I go to California, when I look at the natural beauty and the resources that they have, and honestly, once you get out of the major cities, the people are very conservative. I had a person, I'm not going to name them, winery owner in my shop yesterday. And Gavin Newsom came up, and before I'm always careful because I don't really know where
he came up in
conversation. And she goes, "Oh, that boob. Oh, geez, we hate him." Yeah, it's just like they're conservative.
I appreciate you didn't give the name the name out.
I can't.
So because the Mondavis wouldn't appreciate you talking.
No, I'm surprised you know Mondavi.
The Sterlings.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing? Like reading the bottom shelf of the grocery store?
Mr. Menage a Trois.
Okay, that's not a person.
It was Madame Mayomi.
No.
I don't know. These are wines that I see.
I think I got a shot at this thing, Gerald.
Barefoot. No.
Oh, I hate that. Well, thank you, Dad.
Who? Dad.
He's in character.
He's going to Tony Clifton this thing. We did want to include one positive thing about California, though, because I know there are good people, like you said, left in California.
They are.
So actually, our correspondent Thomas Finnegan went down there to give us some valuable history. There is a lot of rich and vibrant history in California. Its problem is the present. So we sent down Thomas Finnegan to give us a brief history lesson on some California facts.
Good morning, Stephen. I'm here in sunny California to give you some safety lessons for skateboarding.
Oh, great.
California is, of course, where skateboarding started in the 1970s.
Yep.
With the Dogtown and Z-Boys.
Z-Boys, that's exactly correct. He's got it right. Okay, Mr. Finnegan?
Oh, yeah, be careful there.
Safety first.
Thank you. For our viewers, we appreciate it. All right. That helmet's not sized to fit.
It's bleed.
All right, thank you, Thomas Finnegan.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add to the wine bit about smelt and stuff? Because you were telling me when you were getting your beard put on, you're like, I know a lot about California.
I just kind of laid it out for you.
Okay.
Just don't build in certain places. And there was one other thing that they said, LA, even in these drought years, had like 3.5 inches of rain. And they said if people would just start collecting their rainwater instead of the government building things to dump it into the ocean, essentially, right? Just running down the street, running down their aqueduct, whatever, into the ocean, they would solve 30 to 40% of their water problem just by helping people get cisterns and rain collection. They did it in Australia. It took about 5 years, and they solved their problem.
Yeah.
California has known about this for decades,
by the way. In Australia as well, they've been, if I'm not mistaken, more at the forefront of, is it desalination or desalinization?
Well, that is, I don't know which one it is, desalinization. There we go. It has the Z in it.
Yeah, so they've done more, and I know, look, here's the issue. When you look up as to why they don't do it, it is expensive, but the costs have come down quite a bit.
A lot.
And they certainly could come down more, but the biggest barrier to entry, of course, is the environmental laws.
Right.
Again, because and not to say that there isn't any kind of environmental impact.
Well,
however, at a certain point, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. They go, well, it could be a negative feedback loop where then the world gets warmer. Yeah, but if you have a never-ending supply of water because the majority of our Earth is it, that seems like it would be seen. And you know what? One other thing, too, that I want to say, this is also just an example of how pampered we've become when we're talking about some of these problems. And I'm not saying that if the world doesn't get warmer 1.6 degrees that we're not all going to die, because obviously that's settled science.
Yeah.
What I am saying, however, is the fact that we consider this so catastrophic when right now, for example, in Michigan, we've talked about this, Great Lakes, last year record highs, this year still really high.
Yeah.
Okay, record growth for their crops in the Midwest. I always use cherries just because it's something that's really big. If you guys know, in Michigan, it's a very difficult crop because what it requires, the cherry, right? It requires a very long, slow thawing winter.
Yeah.
Meaning, it can't be extremes, hot or cold, because they say global warming. You go, well, it's really cold. Let's see, now it's extreme. It's the extremes. It's climate change. Well, a cherry, if it, for example, if it thaws once and then frosts again, you lose all your cherries.
Yeah. Same thing with grapes.
So is it the same thing?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good metric because it's a long, slow thawing winter, and then a moderate, a good summer. That's what's required for cherries. Record cherry crops, but I just use that to try and put a finer point on it. We've had unbelievable crop yields in the Great Lakes region. We were told, of course, Great Lakes, the most important fresh body of water in the world, we were told that it would be gone by 2021. I think in 2017 they said record lows, record highs. Okay, so now they are saying, though, however, the record highs and the record crop yields and the cherries, this is climate change now. And so we need to act. Okay, let me... If you take us out of this century, so any other century ever in the history of human existence, okay? And try to explain that concept to them. They'd be having harvest festivals, right? They'd be going, look, oh my gosh, the Lord has blessed us. We have more water than ever, and the ground is more fertile than we could possibly imagine. We're planting things we didn't even know could grow here. Yeah. Look at the cherries. We have an overabundance that we could have never imagined in both water, sustenance, and someone goes, actually, that's a problem. They burn you at the stake.
Yeah. They were like, I guess sacrificing Carl worked.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Turns out all we need for record high levels in the lake is more Carls to burn.
Anybody got a Carl?
So I'm just trying to put it into context. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't problems and we don't need to be responsible with our environment.
Irresponsible, yes.
No, I'm not saying that we don't need to be responsible.
Yes,
yeah, okay, Jack Dorsey, you think you're going to call me and everything? No.
Don't forget the suspended president.
What I am saying, though, is we have to weigh the good and the bad.
Of course. You have to balance your policies out when you're talking about the environment and people. And in California right now, they've said the only thing that matters really is environment. And people really do come second, because if you're allowing your population to live homeless in San Francisco, you're just perpetuating homelessness.
Right.
You're just normalizing it. You're supposed to try to help people get out of that. You're supposed to say, hey, don't poop in the streets over here, because that's not sanitary. We've gone away from doing that.
And one reason. And here's a perfect, and I'll leave it with this, and we're going to take our costume winner at Mug Club. You guys can comment below. Also, what this is, since this is the last week of Cultural Appropriation Month, it's been a wonderful June. Let us know which countries you want next year, and we'll compile a list. Here's what you also have in California, and it's very similar to Michigan. Okay, I use these states as examples because they're states that shouldn't suck, but they do. You have a few people on the coast in California making. Well, who do you think is more affected by not building dams and needing access to water? It's people inland. Right? It's people inland. These are people where they're living in regions where probably they're getting less water. This really affects them. But because of people on the coast who don't know what it's like to live in an actual desert climate, not near a large body of water, those people suffer. A perfect example in Michigan. There was a vote, I believe it was the UP, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can call me on it. I don't remember the exact region. It was either the Upper Peninsula or a northern county in Michigan. They had a vote, which shouldn't have been a vote. They have a wolf problem.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you see a wolf, no vote. You deal with the wolf. Now, there was a significant enough wolf problem where they wanted to allow a wolf hunt. Now, I know you guys may have some opinions on whether you should be able to endanger species. Okay, fine, whatever. But the point is, there was enough of a prevalence of wolves in this area of Michigan where they said we need to have a concerted wolf hunt. And they weren't allowed to because of people who live nowhere near the wolf area of the state saying that, well, it would be mean to take out wolves. And they said, no. We have wolves. It's a problem with our livestock. It's a problem, we're concerned for our kids. And they said, yeah, well, you should think about the environment and that the wolves keep the coyotes in check. They said, well, okay, be that as it may. Right now, we're a little more concerned with keeping the wolves in check. That's at the forefront of our mind. And because of some hipster at a coffee shop downstate, I believe it was a statewide vote, I could be mistaken, someone voting in Flint or someone voting in Detroit, people don't get to keep their own families or their own livestock safe. This is what happens. You have these elitists who have voted shitty policies into their, and by the way, not just voted, but voted in elected officials who then bring with them, like we're talking about, the deep state, and the deep state happens even on a local and municipal level, unelected officials who serve to maintain the status quo of regulations for unelected officials. And guess what happens? It affects the rest of the state like a cancer. Make it a good point because we got to go out on this.
California is doing the same thing. You cannot shoot a deer that is eating all of your grapes or a turkey that is destroying your grapevines. You can't do it because somebody took a vote in L.A. and San Francisco and said, oh, it would be mean to shoot the deer.
You can't shoot them?
You cannot shoot, even if they're eating all of your grapes. And
you cannot shoot the deer or the turkey. Look,
turkey or any of those.
This is why I need to be governor of Michigan, although I wouldn't be governor of California because I wouldn't want to live there. No. But you know what? Okay, you can't shoot them. Poison the grapes. Problem solved. All right, we're going to Mug Club. Going to read your costume winner. Leave a comment below. Wish me luck with the surgery, but you don't have to. You two piss off.